Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. We are slowly reaching the end of POM's seminar series this semester, which is dealing with broadly defined Poland's place in the global world. And needless to say, the subject of migration and the subject of the refugee crisis could not be missed, basically, by our speakers. And the whole issue basically has been slowly boiling in the Polish politics and in the Polish media since the summer of 2000 and 2015. As you know, in the meantime, we basically had the change of the government, the civic platform, the government of the civic platform, which in May and September 2015 accepted the EU migrants quotas is gone. We basically have a new government of law and justice, which takes a rather different line approach toward migration crisis. We also basically have eminence Greece of Polish politics, Jarosław Kaczyński, using the language belonging to the sphere of eugenics in a way, about migrants coming from the Middle East, bringing parasites and other diseases which are not harmful for them, but can be harmful for the Polish population or the populations in new environments. So this is basically all going on, ongoing issue. The picture is a little bit confusing, apart from the fact that there seems to be a sort of common front between the governments of the Visegrad Four, at least when it comes basically to the anti-immigration rhetoric. But our guest speaker today, Professor Maciej Duszczyk, is, needless to say, going to inform us more on this specific issue. He's the deputy director in the Institute of Social Policy at the University of Warsaw and head of Migration Policy Unit, as well as member of the board of Center of Migration Research. He was also a visiting professor at the Martin Luther University in Halle-Wittenberg and Friedrich Schiller University in Jena, and he's the author of numerous monographs, articles, and book chapters on the problems of migration in the European Union, but also in Poland. So Poland as the receiving country in a way. Professor Duszczyk's discussion today is going to be Jarosław Kuisz, who is assistant professor at the Faculty of Law and Administration at the University of Warsaw. He's also associate, and I'm going just to be a very, very tough, Anglophile, the Institute of Contemporary History in Paris. You may always correct me. He's a historian of law and political analysis, but above all, I don't want to say above all, but Jarek is also actually known for being chief editor of the leading Polish political and cultural weekly, Kultura Liberalna, and he's basically someone who has been very much engaged in public debates on migration and refugee crisis in Poland. So, without ado, Professor Duszczyk, let's start.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mikołaj, and thank you very much again for this very kind invitation for me, this possibility to share with you my knowledge about the refugee crisis or European Union crisis. I really don't know if the word knowledge is good, because I think so maybe the word perception is better, because knowledge, we don't know what is happening now in the European Union, because we had the problem with understanding why so many people in very short period of time decided to come to Poland, to come to European Union, and we try to think about the consequences such movement, especially for the country which are most such country like the Germany or Sweden, where so many people decided to come. But of course, in 2014, I received a lot of different invitations to speak about the Polish immigrants, especially after the opening the German labor market, so many people were interested in to know more and more about the movement of Poles who decided to leave Poland and go abroad, especially to Germany, between 2013 and 2014. Of course, between the 2004-2007, the main topic on migration was the issue of how many Poles decided to left Poland and go to UK or Ireland. But at now, what is very, very interesting, that of course the main topic in Polish media is refugees, of course. I don't know why, because if we speak about the numbers, 1.3 million of Poles left Poland since 2004. We have 500,000 of Ukrainians, Polish labor market, but still, if we see the different news in newspapers or TV, every day we can receive information about the refugees. Why? My answer is that maybe this is the problem, that the refugee crisis is not only migration. This is the discussion about the future of European Union. That's why so many journalists, so many politicians are interested in to discuss such topic. I analyzed all of this, during the parliamentarian campaign. I analyzed all of these programs from parties' programs, and in only few we could find the information about what should we do, for example, to stimulate the return migration from United Kingdom or Ireland. It was also only few sentences about, for example, is for us good then the Ukrainians came to Poland and fulfilled the shortages or not. But in every programs, it was possible to find information how we should do with the refugees. And again, we can speak about the 1.3 million Poles abroad, 500,000 Ukrainians in Poland, and only few hundred refugees in Poland. That's why this discussion is a little bit crazy. But again, this is not discussion about the migration only. This is migration about the much broader problem. Some numbers. Usually when the journalist asked me about the numbers, how many Poles decided to left Poland since 2004 and where they are. It is absolutely difficult to answer such questions because we don't know. Because this is free movement of workers. And it is usually that we don't know how many Poles left Poland. We don't know how many people use the free movement of workers and go abroad. Of course, we have some sources, but it is quite impossible to say in detail how many. But till 2015, we should say in detailed numbers how many refugees we have in the European Union countries. We had in European countries. But at now, it is also, this again, not possible to say how many. We have the very different numbers. For example, I tried to understand such phenomenon, and I found the information that, for example, one Syrian refugee is registered first time in Greece, second time in Hungary or Austria, and third time in Germany. This is the same person. But in many statistics you can find this is not one person, then this is 3 persons. That's why it is not so easy to say how many people came to European Union in 2015. Of course, we have some numbers. This is the hard statistics. From Eurostat, you can see that European Union 2015, more than 1 million people came to different European Union countries. But if we speak, for example, case of Germany, because we know that the more than 1 million people came to Germany, But if we take the very hard statistics, we can see this. This is the number of refugee people who asked for refugee status. It is only below 500,000. But if we take the numbers from the easy system, it is the system who Germany try to manage these problems. It is only registration and relocation within the Germany. It is 1.1 million. But still, we don't know it is the same people, because it is not so easy to find the very hard information, because and many times these people, for example, in one country show the one passport, on another country another one. That's why this is the problem. This is the problem to understand such phenomenon. But if you can see, for example, Poland, in 2015 this is only 11,000, and it is not Syrians, people from Afghanistan, Pakistan, or Eritrea. These people came especially from Ukraine, but on the first time from Russia. This is Chechens. This is the Chechens. This is the Russian citizens, but Chechens from origin Chechens. But if you compare, for example, the different numbers, in numbers like, for example, in Germany or in Hungary. This is the Poland. Of course, this is not the country where we have such problems with the refugee still. But this is the case of Hungary. One, maybe two more sentences about the statistics. If we try to understand such process, it is absolutely necessary also to speak about how many refugees are in the country, not in this absolute number, but in the per capita. If we take to account, for example, how the Germany is 80 million citizens, and Hungary is only 8 million, it means that the Hungary at now is affected at most by the refugees, because they register 177,000 refugees, people who ask for refugee status in European Union and in this country. I try to use the different words, for example, like the refugees, immigrants, migrants, because it is also the problem. I published a few weeks ago the article and where I used many times the word refugee, and one of the reviewer in the revision has wrote me that it is not so good to use the word refugees, because refugees, it means this is the people with refugee status if we take to account the Geneva Convention. That's why it is much more better to speak about the migrants, because in this number of migrants, maybe this is the 40%, maybe 35% or 45% are typical refugees from Syria or Afghanistan, but also the people who try to use such opportunity and come to European Union because they are typical economical migrants. I will come back to this issue later on. Of course, we know that more than 1 million people came to European Union in 2015. This is absolutely true, but we don't know how many. Really, how many, we don't know. And that's why, because these people are not registered in different databases. Routes. Of course, in the last 10 years, we can find such routes. In 2003, for example, 2004, the most important route was to Canary Islands, because it was the easiest way from different African countries to European Union. Of course, the easiest way is the Ceuta and Melilla, but it is you probably know this is not so easy to come to Ceuta and Melilla. There's two enclaves, Spain enclaves in Morocco. That's why people decided to come to Canary Islands. And now this route is closed. Only few persons decide to go from different African countries to Canary Islands. Another, of course, it is in 2013, 2014, the most popular route was the route from, for example, Libya to Lampedusa on Sicily, to Italy. And now this route is also closed. Not 100% closed, of course, but only few persons decided to come from, to use this, to choose this route and come from African countries to Italy. And now this 90%, in 2015, 90% of migrants have chosen the route from Turkey to Greece. Why? Because, as you probably know, this is the only 2 hours. By donkey or this very small boat, it's possible to go from Turkey to Greece. This is the problem of Schengen area. This is the problem of concept of Schengen. Because the concept of Schengen, idea of Schengen, was based on 2 elements. The first, we don't have the control within the European Union countries, but also the security of European Union countries is not in the outside border of European Union countries. Then, in countries and neighborhood countries. That's why Italy decided to sign the contract with Gaddafi, for example, to secure Italian border by the security guards, border guards in Libya. That's why this is the same story with Turkey. Because we fought many years. It is not a problem of migration from Turkey to Greece. Because Turkey is able to secure its border and don't want to leave the people who live in Turkey to go to Greece. But in 2015, the border guards in Turkey said that no, we will not secure our border. Everyone who wants to leave Turkey can do it. That's why the people have chosen this route, because it is absolutely secure. It is absolutely bad word, only. But if we compare different numbers, only 600 people died in these routes in 2015. But in the previous year, when the movement was not so high than today, in the route from Libya to Italy, more than 4,000 people died. That's why this route from Turkey to Greece is safe. It's really safe. But the problem starts when the people came to Greece. I spent a few hours and few days in Piraeus, and I tried to understand what these people do. And this picture is absolutely sad, because we have all of these problems which is connected with migration, sexual abuse. We have the problems with the very small children. We have the problem, all of these very difficult problems which are connected with the migrants, with migration. In Greece, in one of the European Union country, because it is quite impossible to manage such problems by the Greece. Greece is not responsible for these problems, because it is not impossible. This is a very small country will register 1 million of people and try to give them basic give them, for example, like the food or houses and some another basic rights. That's why Greece. What can Greece do? What can Greece do? This is only one way to allow these people go further, go from Greece to another countries. Allow them cross the border. And now, what we have such a situation. The people illegally crossed first time the European Union country, Schengen area, in Greece when they come from Turkey. Second time they leave Greece illegally and come to, for example, Macedonia. And then again, Hungary or Croatia. Croatia is not the member of the Schengen area, but is the member of the European Union. And then after leaving the Croatia and cross next time illegally border Croatia, Austria, and then illegally cross the border between the Austria and Germany. Many times, it means that the Schengen Treaty absolutely doesn't work. The same with the Dublin Free Convention. Also, all this core of, I can say, European integrity in the movement don't work now. Reaction of the EU. I have the problem again with these words, reaction. Reaction is, I think, said positive. But it is quite impossible to say that the reaction of the European Union was positive. Because during the first month, the European Union, especially the European Commission and few countries, promoted only relocation system as the instrument who can solve the problem. But all of these, I can say, migration experts try to show that it is impossible. The relocation doesn't solve the problem. Because if we speak about the 500,000 people, maybe the relocation is one of the instruments which should be taken into account. But if we speak about, for example, 2 million, no, it is quite impossible to relocate so many people within the European Union. I can show you one example. Few weeks ago, I was invited by the German ambassador in Poland to speak about the relocation. And it was very difficult. It was very difficult discussion. But in the end of the day, I tried to show him the example. That, for example, can we imagine a situation when Poland will decide we can take, for example, we can welcome 50,000 of refugees from Italy and Greece. It is not. You can do it. Why not? We can relocate 50,000 of these immigrants. But what is the step? What is the next step? What should we do with this refugee? From the Polish perspective, it would be very, very easy to manage such problems. To build 2 camps, refugee camps, very close to the German border, and show them there is Germany.
They will know it.
So?
They will know.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Poland could be chosen by the refugees with the basic geographic knowledge where Poland is. It is not so easy to go, for example, from Estonia to Germany, because this is 2,000 kilometers. But if we take into account for the cities like Szczecin, which is 50 kilometers from German borders, it is so easy to do it. That's why such instruments like the relocation doesn't have potential to solve the problem. It's possible to speak about voluntary relocation. For example, I tried to advise the previous government that we should be much more offensive, not defensive, offensive. Because the Polish government, previous in the same is with the current government, both governments are very defensive. They waited only what European Commission proposed. And negotiate with the Commission, this is a very good idea. I think so that if we want to play important role in European Union, because we have such potential as Poland, we would like to be one of the 6 countries who governed European Union. In this problem, it is absolutely necessary to be much more offensive. That's why I tried to advise Polish government to say, yes, please, for example, send a signal to European Commission that we can take voluntary, for example, 5,000 people. Don't wait of these numbers from the European Commission. This is absolutely necessary to say we are able to invite, to welcome, and to integrate, for example, 5,000, 6,000 or 15,000 refugees, because we are prepared. Or we have to wait, for example, 2-3 months, maybe 6 months, to be better prepared than we are today to integrate these people. Because the next problem is with the reaction of the European Union. There's the problem of Germany as well. Because it is the only idea that we should invite such people. We can be open. We can open the border. But do we have really ideas what we will do in the next few months? Where these people will work? Where these people will live? And so on and so on. Do we have any ideas how to integrate such people and avoid the problems which we had, for example, in France, in Netherlands, Germany, and other countries? It is much more difficult to have such broader perspective. Not that only idea, yes, we have to be open. It's absolutely necessary to have also idea how to integrate such people. Another issue, very difficult I can say, is the people of decision, of relocation. First time in the European Union, it was the majority voting. And 3 countries, maybe 4 countries, voted against, and they lose. That's why this is the first time where the European Union, didn't able to reach the consensus. I worked 6 years, the Polish Minister of European Affairs, and I negotiated with Germany this transition period, 2+3+2. And in every discussion, in every talks, I received such information that don't think about the voting in the European Union, because our idea, our core rule is that we will negotiating till the end where we have the consensus. In this example, we didn't have consensus, and this was the majority voting. It is not building the consensus with just such difficult problems. That's why I think so. It was one of the worst idea to vote in this case, not to try to reach the another instrument. Maybe try to change such instruments rather relocation, but Hungary, Czech Republic, and Slovakia voted against. Poland is very, very interesting, because Polish Minister of Interior voted yes in favor such instrument, but changed the position 5 minutes before the voting. It means we also lost. We also lose this voting. But before the election, it was absolutely necessary to show we are more Europeans than other countries from Visegrad. It was not true, absolutely. It was only I can say PR before the election. That's why what Mikołaj said. I don't think so and I have a lot of arguments. I think so. We can of course discuss such problem later on. That the position of previous government in current government, in my opinion, is the same. Mm. Only few differences. This is very, very interesting, because previous government, this is absolutely different governments. But in this issue, like the migration, the position is quite common. It's quite the same. Of course, the 19 January 2016, the Donald Tusk said that we have only 3 months to solve the problems. And time is turning. Time is coming. If we don't have the consensus during the 3 European Councils in March, the first, most important, is 7th March. This is the council with Turkey. Special European Council is only with Turkey. If we don't solve the problems in March, it would be the end of the Schengen. Absolutely, it would be the end of the. It would be finished of Dublin, and maybe in the future, after the Brexit possible, it will be maybe the end of the European Union, which we know, because this crisis is so difficult to solve. Why relocation doesn't work? A few numbers. It is 160,000 people. It is 5 months left, and let's look. 4,000 places made available. 160,000. And relocated from Greece, 295 persons. Relocated from Italy, 288. It means relocation as idea doesn't work. For example, the Austria and Hungary, Slovakia, Slovenia, 0. Poland, for example, this is the 100 places. In the next few months, we expect that the 400 people came to Poland and will be relocated to the refugee camp, which is very close to Warsaw. The places are ready, and this process is going on. But this is, 600 persons, and we speak when we speak about the 7,000 people, this contingent from Poland, and we speak 160,000 from this whole contingent, but we speak about the 1.5 million of refugees in the European Union. It is nothing. Poland's position. As the Mikołaj said, in the last moment, the previous Polish government decided to support relocation, and we decided to invite and welcome to the 7,000 people. But before this discussion about the refugees, we had in discussion in Poland very, very interesting discussion. I took place in this discussion as well. It was the idea of one of the Syrian foundation, Polish foundation, which was established by the Syrians who live in Poland. It was the idea to invite 200 Christian Syrians to Poland. And we had some discussion about the possible discrimination of refugees by the religion. Should we invite only Christians or not? And the biggest Polish daily, Gazeta Wyborcza, interviewed me and asked me what the government should do. And I answered, it was not possible to accept such instruments via the government, but it is possible to support this initiative, because this initiative, it is not a government initiative. This is the initiative from the non-governmental organization, and the government can support it or not. I think so. Why not? We should support such idea, because this is not discrimination by the government. It is only support for an idea of one Polish non-governmental organization. But we started such discussion. Can we speak about the Christians, refugee only from Syria? Because the problem is, where is the problem? The problem is that we don't have in Poland Muslims immigrants, maybe few. But we have anti-Muslim rhetoric in the Polish society. It is quite impossible, I think so, for all governments to invite, for example, now the thousands of Muslims refugees, because the Polish society will be absolutely against. But if we want to prepare a real offer how to how Poland should be should manage such problems and to help European Union to solve the problems. Also, the discussion about the Christians who came to Poland should be taken to account, but not this is the people from the religion which is very close to ours. Because if you compare, for example, the Copts from Syria and the Roma Christians in Poland, this is absolutely different. But still, the name Christians, it could be accepted by the Polish society, and we can also invite to integrate such people, the Polish Church. The Polish Church divided on the two sides. I read absolutely fantastic texts from the Polish Church, from the Polish bishops, absolutely great, with very open, which is, I can say, try to manage such problems. But also, if I see, for example, the forums below such articles in the Christians' web pages, it is absolutely hate. It's absolutely hate. That's why the Polish Church divided on the both sides, the two sides, if we speak about the reaction of these refugee problems. But still, I would like to defend Polish Church, because a lot of Polish bishops wrote absolutely fantastic texts, better than any in governments or any in non-governmental organization. But this the problem with religion is unfortunately very lively in Poland. That's why maybe if you want to offer something real, it is also try to understand that maybe for us it would be much more easier to accept that we send the signal we will invite, for example, in the first period only Christians from Syria. I don't know, but it could be one of the solutions. The same was done by Canada, which invited only families. No one alone can come to as refugee to Canada. Only families. That's why the different countries try to find the solutions, find the instruments which will be appropriate to their situations. Of course, as Mikołaj said, during the campaign it was absolutely crazy, absolutely tragic. This rhetoric, anti-humanitarian rhetoric, I can say. It was not anti-refugees rhetoric. It was absolutely, for me, it was absolutely not acceptable. This rhetoric about it is the rhetoric like this, I can find the appropriate words, I think so. Because it was, when I try to understand why these people do something like that, of course, they want to win the election. But in this rhetoric, where is the border? Such anti-human being rhetoric. It's not anti-refugees rhetoric, it's anti-human being rhetoric, I can say. And such exotic ideas. Really. The idea that we should form the military unit and send them back to fight these Islamic State in Syria. It's absolutely crazy. It is absolutely easy way.
It's based on Anders' army, I think.
Sorry?
It's based on the idea of Anders' army.
Absolutely, this is absolutely fantastic idea to give the weapons to Islamic State. Absolutely, because these people, if the send back, it would be the absolute soldiers in Islamic State. They will be not fight against. It will be the part of the Islamic State.
It happened to the CIA trainees.
Absolutely, in Afghanistan or in different states. It was absolutely crazy idea to do it. Yes, because it would be the transfer of troops and weapons absolutely to Islamic States. We will pay the money for Islamic State. Absolutely, it's my idea. My opinion is this absolutely crazy. But after unfortunately after 2-3 days this idea collapsed. And now Poland's position is the is the element of the Visegrad group. This is the idea where we can find our common values in the Visegrad countries, Visegrad group. Because if we speak, for example, the relation with Russia, we are absolutely divided. If we speak about the future of European Union, we are absolutely divided. If we speak about for example, the problem of migrants, Polish, Hungarian, Slovakian migrants, we are divided. But we are only one point where we can cooperate. It is the reaction of refugee and how to kick the Germans. It is the only point where we can cooperate within the Visegrad group. But all of these four Visegrad groups, but not only, this is also Bulgaria, Romania, other countries. Okay, in 5 minutes I will finish. It is all of these countries are against the idea of Angela Merkel to be more and more open. Germany, and now I can say, is alone in the European Union. After Sweden said no more migrants, today there's two informations about the migration. The first, the Belgium decided to close the border with France because the court approved this cleaning the refugee camp in Calais. It means that many of people who are waiting in Calais will try to find another ways, maybe through the Belgium.
To Bruges.
Yeah, that's why this is next signals. And Austria, this is the Greece Greece government called to Austrian ambassador for consultation because Austria invited only Balkan state to negotiate solving the problems without Greece, and Greece is absolutely nervous now. It couldn't be acceptable for Greece to talk about this migration without Greece. And last but not least, Ukraine. This is our argument. This argument, on the one hand, is true. But on the other hand, it is not true. Because as probably you remember, today Deutsche Welle published the article about the 1 million refugees in Poland. This is what Prime Minister Szydło said a few weeks ago in European Parliament. And I don't know why. I think so. She didn't need it, such arguments during such speech and such discussion in the European Parliament. But she said it. But she mentioned it, and we tried to find this data. Yeah, and the newest data from 2015. It means that we have something like the 500,000 of different Ukrainians in Poland, but most of them are economical migrants. It is not refugees. We have the only two approved refugee from Ukraine 2015. But we observe increase the Ukrainians who want to receive refugee status in Poland. But it's only a few thousand, But still, if we see the increase between 2013 and 2015, we started 2 years ago only about the 100, and now it's 500,000. But this is only not only, but 80% this is the typical economical migrants, because in 2007 we opened the labor market for Ukrainians. It is absolutely easy to come to Poland for 6 months to be a seasonal worker. It is no bureaucratic obstacles, really no bureaucratic obstacles. That's why this number increased very, very fast. It is also the new government decided to try to close such instruments, and I don't know how many people is this number will increase in 2016 or not? But where is the problem? The problem is how long Ukraine would manage the problem of internal displaced persons. This 1.5 million people who left Donetsk region and Lugansk regions and live here, for example, in Kiev, Lvov, another cities in Ukraine. This 1.5 million. Ukraine managed such problems as well now, but I'm not sure that it would be possible, for example, in the next few months, if Russia decide to start the military campaign against Ukraine again. It is the question. It is possible that, for example, we will many of them will try to find a better place for living, better place for their children in Poland, for example, and we have to be prepared. But my idea is, of course, that we should be absolutely open to solve the problems Italian and Greece, because in the next month, maybe next year, we should be also ask for such help if we have, for example, 1 million refugees from Ukraine. That's why maybe the Prime Minister Szydło tried to say that we should be prepared for 1 million refugees, but she used present perfect, not future. Maybe. I try to understand, of course, but and it is not a joke. What can be done? What can be realistically done? There's such ideas. This is my side because I try to find these real solutions. Absolutely, it is. This is. I will not speak about such ideas in very detail, but I think so that at now we have, if we want to, the problem of migrants 2016 is more the psychological, sociological problem than typical migration problem. Because what we had in 2015. Example, we see the boat who landed in Greece, and after few days, plane transferred the same people to Sweden, and such people from Syria, Afghanistan, published the meme, published the information on Facebook. It is possible, if you reach Greece, you will be transferred by plane to Sweden. It is not true, of course, but in the media, it was possible to find such information. What is the information for 2 million people in Lebanon, 1 million in Jordania, and 2.5 million people in Turkey? We have to reach Greece, because if we reach Greece, we will be transferred by plane to Sweden. It is absolutely fantastic for our children. That's why it is much more psychological or sociological aspect than typical migration. And that's why if we want to solve the problems, we have to, it's absolutely necessary to send another information that we are not ready to receive more. But it depends, of course, how we can solve the problems in the countries where the people live now. It is absolutely necessary to improve conditions in the camps where these people live. In Turkey, in Jordania, in Lebanon, we don't have refugee camps. These people live on the streets. That's why I think so. If we want to buy the hours, buy the time, it is absolutely necessary to send a signal that you are not ready to invite, welcome, and integrate more people than we received in 2015. Because if the next 1 million people came to European Union, I don't think so that it would be possible to manage such problems in 2016. And it could be the finish of European Union which we know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Apologize for my English. I know this is not perfect, but I hope so. I was absolutely.
You did well.
Yeah. Okay.
Jarek.
Well, thank you for this brilliant presentation, and I could just, in 10 minutes, I could just add some quick comments. And I think that I wouldn't neglect the fact that the problem from the viewpoint of an expert of migration movements could seem to be virtual. I use this metaphor on several occasions in the media that these are virtual refugees for Poland. But it doesn't mean, and maybe it's even worse, that they are virtual, because the problems, political problems, are real. And I think that our political campaign between Platforma, between Civic Platform and Law and Justice Party, was just an overture to what could happen in the future, because the fact that what they had in common, and here I wholly agree, was that they were absolutely unprepared to discuss the issue. Absolutely unprepared. There were several occasions since, I mean, a couple of years to comment on the important issues in Western Europe. Of course, almost all the time the subject that returned like a boomerang was migration issues. Polish politicians were simply not interested in it, not at all. They nodded. They just said, "Okay, fine, it's interesting," but it was like a blah 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 for them. That was something that, but they understood one thing, and here I would like to refer to this fascinating Peter Mayer, politician scientist, book about the ruling the void. They understood, maybe instinctive, by instinct, that here is the opportunity to revive the political divisions. By the end of the political campaign, it was really something extremely boring to hear the campaign between Law and Justice and Civic Platform. That was the point for them, to revive politics, and that was true. I mean, the more virtual, it was some kind of theatrical side of politics, and therefore that was of importance. Because here, when Poles had absolutely no opportunity to confront refugee problems with their own experience, it was possible to talk whatever you wanted on the subject. That's why Jarosław Kaczyński used this phrase about parasites. By the way, that was exactly the phrase that we could find in Marine Le Pen vocabulary. And that's why this yes and no campaign was possible. I dare to say that the round table politicians, to use, simply failed this exam. All of them. Even if you as an expert say that we are surprised by this big yes issue, of course, whichever book on the subject of migration you take from Germany, France, the UK, you have the question of next step. Mm-hmm. But here a question mark. How could we, because I participated at the conference organized by Olivier Roy, and here was the question, a question of months. We discussed that Poland, it was before the crisis, we discussed the problem that Poland in the whole discussion was 0.0, no problem with migrants, and in fact there was still no anti-migrant rhetoric. Now it seems that the question of months changed everything. It is not a point of departure, but how can we learn from mistakes of others? At the moment when, if you take for example, French books, when they hesitate if their model was successful or not. ask Frenchmen, ask experts from Sweden, ask experts. Even if there was an opportunity to talk with normal Germans, they had doubts about the success of assimilation of Turks on the level of education, for example. So that is the question: how, could we learn from experiences of other countries, especially if we take into consideration that they have doubts about themselves? That would be my first because that's the big question. Another thing is that I think that you have mentioned the Polish way to the crisis. It's fascinating. It's fascinating because, for example, it's in 1991 there was a Polish newsreel. This kind of movie comments that were shown on the screens, and one of them was made because of a group of gypsies that invaded after 1989 Poland. There was a certain moment where people felt surprised that the West for gypsies is here in Warsaw. And the comment is extremely interesting from today's perspective, because the comment is, I quote, "What should we do with them? Throw them away? Should we close the border? If someone comes up with such an idea, soon he will see that the Europe will close its border in front of our nose. Who considers himself as an European should get rid of the conviction that he's better from these who are worse." It's far from the political correctness, but that was the real comment from 1991. Another question is, what foundation to behave in a correct way to the migrants do we have if we know, from what you have also mentioned, if we know that the belief in the EU project is not as strong as it used to be in Visegrad Group countries? It would be simply unthinkable to behave in such a way 10 years ago. So it means, and that would be a subject for my presentation on the 3rd of March, I think that there is some kind of the decline of belief in the post-communist West. Because there was something like this. I will skip it now, but I think that the question is, what could be the basis? Because, and here are two maybe more optimistic points, I think that this Chechen story shows us ambiguity of the problem. Because still, even if we know that almost all of them, and we are talking about, we hesitate between 80 to 90,000 of refugees. That's what official data says. But almost all of them went to Germany. But still, there were no reactions against Chechens as believers of Islam. I think that it shows some kind of ambiguity that, and on that occasion, one could also easily imagine some kind of frenzy. Poles were not more tolerant in the 90s than they are today, or maybe, that's another issue. Maybe it could be seen as better or worse, whatever. But the point is that it was possible to not to think of it as a problem, because what was more important was the question of that Chechens are fighting for freedom, it's against Russia, and so on and so forth. Which is okay, but it means also that the attitude towards Ukrainians is also this kind of solidarity that is, so to say, dark solidarity, because it's combined with the negative attitude to the third side of the story. But maybe it's a kind of opportunity. I don't know. It's a question too. And the last, okay. So I would like to underline also that the behavior of the Polish Catholic Polish Church is so surprising, because in the middle of the political campaign, when the division we, they, yes, no were already present on the agenda, bishops like Gondecki simply stated something that was out of the political campaign. That people should behave they should think about solidarity. Parishes should be prepared to receive refugees, and so on. Of course, Polish Church is strongly divided, but it was surprising to see the confrontation of the right, including Law and Justice, and such statement. Law and Justice simply omitted the subject.
Absolutely.
They simply omitted. They were. I found no comment from their side on what Gondecki and other bishops said. So that would be the very last thing. I think that what Polish politicians were so unprepared that we forget to and everything goes in such a quick way that we forget to see what were doing other countries, with the exception of Germany. For example, France. If we see what was going on during the crisis in summer, the previous year in summer, Le Monde started to complain and to reproach French politicians that they stay silent on the issue, because simply when politicians from the Visegrad started to talk about things that they had absolutely no idea, French politicians stayed silent.
Absolutely.
And if you see their quota that they accepted, they are simply ridiculous. I think that they are better diplomats.